thank you so much for joining us for this fundraiser. Before we dig into the usual introduction that we have, we'd love to share with you all some numbers that we have collected over 13,000 Indian rupees for this event, and all thanks to you guys. And we'll also be sharing the details along with the screenshot. And 50% of this fundraiser goes towards the Dunzo partnership, and 15% towards Swiggy's fundraiser, as mentioned in the Razorpay description. So we'll be sharing these details also with you on email, but thanks once again and giving you guys a huge shout out for this. Um, Without further ado, just introducing today's agenda as well as a little bit about the community that we run. Today's session is about understanding Jio's initiatives, and specifically Jio Fiber, Jio TV, the entire content play they're doing over this new network. We have with us Jatin Malhotra, who leads strategic partnerships at Jio. He's earlier been with Facebook and Oracle. So, a great transition. We'll hear a little more about his journey, understand a little more. I think everyone wants to know more about the FB plus Jio strategic deal that's happened recently. So we'll learn a little more into that. We'll learn a little more into India's TV consumption pattern. Not only TV, a little more than just TV. It might include a little more on the OTT play. What are some new things happening in this space? So some great insights that I've got so far, and hope everyone benefits from this session as well. Just before we kick off, a little more on the community. The Product Folks is a volunteer-driven community that we started last year. We've done a bunch of offline initiatives across 10 cities, 6 in India, 4 outside, and a bunch of online initiatives now. We have Insurger.club, we have Learn PM with me for early stage folks, we have Pizza with PMs, we have some networking sessions as well as city-wise groups for senior folks. So feel free to get involved, and yeah, it's a community. Let's all grow together. So without further ado, hi Jatin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for the invitation. Pleasure to be around.
Thank you. And I've just given them a brief intro into your career, but would you just want to walk them through maybe a TLDR into your life story?
Yeah, sure. So I started my career in 2012. I joined Oracle as my first company. I was working at Oracle as a software engineer, where I worked upon Oracle FlexCube. It's a banking software. So basically, not many know about it, but iFlex was the Indian company which built FlexCube as a software which was bought by Oracle, and this was that. According to me, that was the first big unicorn which was acquired by a global company, and the complete end-to-end development of that product, which serves 130 countries and some major banks across the world, is basically built, developed, and supported, maintained everything from India end to end. So I was there. I worked on multiple projects in Middle East, in Asia, and in Japan. That was a good journey. And then basically I joined Facebook. I joined Facebook as a program manager in their emerging worlds team. The idea there was to build an innovation team in India and drive innovations from here, because the next set of billion users for Facebook would be coming from India. So why not build things which cater to the Indian market? So that was the idea. Back in 2016, we joined. We created a team of 15. We worked on a bunch of multiple interesting products. And then I also looked after building community for Facebook developer circles. So I contributed towards it. And then Jio happened. At Jio, basically, I was put in charge to set up the developer ecosystem. But till the point we reached that stage, it was important that we water the ecosystem via strategic partnerships. So that's why what I've been looking into so far, and slowly, steadily, maybe in 3 to 4 months from now, we would soon be expanding our program further. Out of all the professional engagements which we did, parallelly, I also started this Google Developer Group Mumbai. It was a similar community like Product Folks, but catering more towards developers as a key audience, and we did a lot of tech evangelizing towards various Google products which were very new then, like Android was pretty off the block then, and I led it for 4 years before I joined Facebook, and we made it one of the biggest communities in the world, and it was a very good journey. Communities was an unheard term then, and it was pretty good to rally a group of folks around the mission that how can we basically ensure that we come together to ensure that we really talk about technology within communities and build the ecosystem. So yeah, those were very early days.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think I've heard great things about that GDG Mumbai chapter. Would you say that is something that contributed your move into Facebook? Because I mean, not too many people. Everyone wants it. It's one of like the biggest companies, a sought after company to work for. So how did that transition happen, and what is the role of extracurricular? I'd call it extracurricular because it's outside of your normal work related stuff. So how big of a factor was that? How did you make this transition? And
Yeah, so my professional during that point in time, I was 3 years at Oracle. My day-to-day job professionally was building softwares. But then
right,
yeah, this aided. So the kind of community pull which we created, I guess that created a lot of buzz around, and that's where there were a couple of opportunities which came from Facebook because they were planning to do and expand their India team. So that's where I got a buzz from them, and then I explored and then said, why not? This is something which I love doing, and then yeah, that's how Facebook happened, and yeah, it was a good journey.
that's awesome, awesome. That's interesting. And probably now jumping right into the meat, now that we've had a little bit of an icebreaker, a little bit of introduction to your journey, jumping right into the meat, since you're leading like strategic partnerships for Jio's initiatives. Um, Couple of questions around this. So 200 million households in India have TV today, but OTT is rising as well. So what is Jio's big bet around TV, and what are you guys planning to do different here?
Yeah, so I would want to like put some clarity behind the thought process of what it is actually. So we launched our Jio Fiber service few months back. We called it Jio Giga Fiber prior to launch, but when it was launched in the last AGM, it was Jio Fiber. Now, what Jio Fiber does is it offers high-speed broadband connectivity, 100 GB at 100 Mbps to households across the country. Now, as we speak, we have reached a million homes. We basically are there in 1,800 towns and cities. That is what makes it very enticing, where you have single player who has a spread. So if I speak of other players, the market leader is around somewhere 8 million households. The second market leader is around 3 million households. And we, with few months of us into this market, we've been into a million homes. Again, it's not an overnight thing. Fibers were being laid for last 10 years, but it's just that we came out with the service and rolled it out at a very right time. So when we speak about TV industry, what I feel is what we are trying to do here is we are trying to set a horizontal. Now this horizontal is broadband. This is fiber, and what comes on top of it are verticals. So entertainment is one vertical, gaming is one vertical, home and security surveillance is one vertical, MR, AR, VR are other verticals. So if you see entertainment slash TV as a market, those are verticals which are built upon this horizontal. But our basic bet is on the broadband, and we are so our projections are 20 million homes in next 2 years. We're expanding very rapidly, and we have seen a lot of interesting stories coming out of this unique reach which we have had. So when we were 500,000 users, we had OTT players on our platform which gained 2 lakh users from nowhere, which they never had on phone as a platform, on phone internet. And then also, if you see, if I say how this industry would be progressing is right now we have around 100 million homes which are still to be catered with broadband. And then once we reach that number, only 20% of internet consumption would be via smartphones or phones. Rest 80% would be via broadband. That's how broadband is so critical. And also considering how the patriarchy evolves in a country, also for very, very, very segmented and a very inclusive growth, it's important to have broadband, because when a broadband reaches a house, it reaches in form of a Wi-Fi where up to 50 devices, multiple devices get connected to it. So right now, if you see in lower rung of our society, considering there is less resources with families around and patriarchy around, you only get the male of the house with a phone, and that's how the female is not she doesn't have access to a phone or a internet hence. But then with more broadband penetration, it would lead to more inclusive growth, and with women getting more empowered, we can see more avenues, more creativity coming out, and more sense prevailing in our society.
Interesting. That's an interesting point. Um, Jatin, quick question there. Since you mentioned the next 100 million, we also know that these this section has a very low ARPU also, right? The average revenue that you'll be able to get from this part of the thing. So how does that really play in? Definitely inclusive, definitely what you mentioned is uh, interesting, but from a business point of view, how does that work out for you?
No, so it makes a lot of business sense. In fact, the ARPU, if you see of a phone internet of the normal wireless 3G, 4G is pretty less because of cutthroat competition out there. But with
Mhm.
Jio basically revolutionizing the kind of innovation which we did with 4G, that really showed that 1 GB of internet, which around in 2016 2017 was 270 rupees per GB, was brought down to 10 GB, and this is unheard of. This innovation basically needs more appreciation, which I don't see out in the industry. This is pure innovation. So I have folks whom I host at Jio from Canada, from US, people from across the world come, and we have these tools and we sit and talk to them. They say in Canada and US again they have the best of the technologies out there, but this sort of cutthroat pricing behind a GB of internet consumption is completely unheard of. So that's where innovation was, and that's where I guess innovation will kick in broadband also. Why is because again, when I say innovation, the cost would come down, and the cost, when it comes down, even a 10 rupee would give you a profit margin. So similarly speaking, on the broadband side, if you say so, at this point in time, if we say 100 million users in 2 years from now, overall as a market, if we say there would be 100 million more broadband subscribers in the country. So right now, if you see, the revenue which comes out is around 14-15,000 crores, but this number would reach to up to 80,000 crores in 2 to 3 years from now. And again, this numbers would definitely ensure that the household spend behind a 100 GB internet would come down. But definitely, anyone who basically takes the market pie out of it would be making a lot of money.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's great. Since you mentioned again on the on how you brought down the cost of internet per internet, the the price of internet per GB, like you mentioned, to 270 rupees per GB in 2016 to less than 10 rupees. What are some other ways of making money? Because definitely you have a lot of capital cost, a lot of OPEX cost. So if you have reduced the cost of internet, what is it that you are monetizing from the user? Like, is that, what are some things that are building on top that maybe only Jio is capable of because of the wide reach? You mentioned horizontal. So what are something that you guys are capable of? What is that strategic advantage you guys have over the other players in the market or
Yeah,
in the coming months?
so just to like throw a few stats around also. So we were nowhere in our mobile internet penetration, and from nowhere we were top five. Similarly, if you see on broadband right now we are 134, but maybe in couple of years from now we would be in top five. So that's the sort of reach and penetration we would have. Now, as far as the monetization aspect is concerned, I guess as far as the broadband is concerned, we have two basic ways of monetizing. One is subscription, which is the subscription which goes so when I say broadband also has a concept of OTT, linear slash non-linear channels. Now, just to give more insights to people around, so linear happens to be channels which we today watch on our set-top boxes, on our TV. So you say a channel, an EPG, electronic programming guide, where we take a remote, we do take Z5, not a Z5, we get a Z, we get a Star Plus. Those are linear. Non-linear is a recent phenomenon which is upcoming recently, where people can access these contents over an app anytime on the fly. So when we speak of the mobile penetration, so if you see, the average internet being consumed right now of an average user is around 10 GB of internet per month. And again, in most of the cases, if I speak of Jio phone, so right now, if you see, we have 400 million smartphones in the country, but we have equally 150 million Jio smart feature phones out there in the market. Now, these folks also have an average ARPU of say around 120, 130 rupees. And again, if you see, we give them 1 GB, 1.5 GB of internet per day, most of it
Mhm.
goes unused. So there is a huge, so even after people are consuming a lot of internet, still it goes unused. Why is that happening? Is because we have given them such huge access to such high quality internet. Even they access a YouTube, or a lot of other let's say a Jio TV, but it's being supplied to them in such an optimized format, then even if they consume content, it's not burning holes in their pocket. So that is one. As far as the revenue opportunities are concerned, so as I said, 40% of revenues right now in these broadband subscription comes from ads. Now, this ads basically were till date were on linear channels, but
Mhm.
now, as with the advent of more and more households getting smart TVs, getting connected TVs, getting set-top boxes in their home with more high broadband penetration. So what we are seeing right now is the ad industry, which was more towards linear, is moving towards a non-linear, towards the
Right.
OTT slash broadband space. And right now, if you see, the penetration is around 40%, but maybe in a couple of years from now, this may reach to 60%. So that is a big win. And also, this is a big win for the ad industries, because the linear TV did not give them the kind of reach, the kind of quality reach which OTT market. So this is similar to, say, you sprinkle an ad over a Google rather than you sprinkling an ad over a Facebook user base, where the Facebook tends to know a lot of user behavior statistics about each and every user in an anonymous format. Again, keeping all the data privacy things in picture, but still Facebook knows a lot about the user. So that's how an OTT would give you more insights into the user behaving patterns and give you more reach. The CPMs at this point in time for an ads over an OTT is really high, but then because it gives you quality, but that would come down. And the second avenue to make money apart from ads is the subscription. So the
Mhm.
subscription costs which goes now. This subscription can be in form of revenues, in form of the collective. The total pie happens to be in the country around $10 billion. The overall market pie of this OTT space, but
Mhm.
and this would reach, say, in 2 years from now, to $13 billion. So a lot of money to be made, and a lot of people are going ahead and buying these subscriptions. So that's where bundled in service like a GeoFiber comes in. Okay, so now we have so many OTT players out there. You have a Netflix, you have Amazon, you have a Z5, you have a Sony Live, you have a Hotstar. How much do people buy? And again, these subscriptions do come at a good amount of cost, even though they are subsidized at this point in time. So that's where someone like a GeoFiber comes in place and disrupts this space. So your question was, how do you think that Geo can disrupt? Now I'll tell you a clear. At the end of the day, it boils down to how much money a user is paying. So this is where a very simple value proposition is. So we charge a user 800 rupees. So we have a bronze plan, we have a silver plan, and we have plans which increase. So we offer our user a silver plan, which is around 800 rupees. We give him 100 GB of internet at 100 Mbps for a month, and we give him 20 plus OTT services which are pre-bundled in. So he gets a Hotstar, he gets a Sony Live, he gets a Z5, he gets a Jio Savan, he gets a Jio TV Plus, which is again an aggregation of an old Balaji, of a Eros now, of a lot of such services, which we did as part of content partnerships in past 3 years, and which is also available on Jio TV on phone. So you see, you get 20 plus services bundled in for a cost of 800 rupees.
Oh, wow.
Right now, if you see, I have a set-top box service at my home, and again, it's a non-Geo service at home right now for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
I pay only 600 for a set-top box, and my broadband is a separate 600. So right now, and again, that is only at 20 Mbps. So I pay around 1200 to 1300 rupees for a two different set of service. Here, if there is a geo fiber which reaches to your house, I'm only charging you for a broadband connectivity. Now, this broadband connectivity is around 700 800 rupees. You can
Mhm.
connect up to 50 plus devices. It can be your phone, it can be your set-top box, anything. So we charge you for broadband. Rest everything is complimentary. Set-top box is complimentary. All the OTT services which we provide you as part of a bundled offering is complimentary. We give you high speed latency, less latency service, where you can, say, stream a multiplayer game over an internet. You can have a host of home surveillance solutions being offered. You have wireless audio services being provided. You have a telephony service being provided. So today, if you see where the revolution can happen, is today two households. Again, you sitting there, I sitting here. This service, the entire service, what we are doing on a Zoom, If say tomorrow the penetration is 20 million households, most of the Indian affluent households, which you, me, and everyone in this call are a part of, would have that service. We can do a direct rather than on a laptop, which is again a small screen, or maybe on a phone. We can do this over a larger screen, the larger real estate, and that's where also I see there's a lot of communication which can be enabled. We can see the ease of use where we say just the TV starts and just like over a WhatsApp you do a video call and you just connect it. That how easy it would be to communicate on a larger screen. So that's how I see that's where the revolution would be. And again, once you have used so the internet business, the B2C business works on a very simple principle, which is acquisition, retention, and monetization. You first acquire users, you retain them, and money eventually flows in. So the stickiness is at the core of it. And then when you offer such a great service at you say half the cost, that's where the it's a no deal. It's a complete vanilla service, a complete cakewalk for users to see the value which it adds to them. And as I said, in 2 years, 3 years from now, only 20% of internet consumption would come via, this is my personal insight, would come via mobile internet. 80% would be via broadband because the ease of use it would give. And also the other insights which we are seeing lately, a lot of our OTT players which we are working with, they are seeing a gradual shift. So where a user was consuming his OTT subscription or a phone is actually today going in and consuming his OTT subscription which he has over a larger TV. He can have an Android TV, he can have a smart TV, or he can have a set-top box. But again, people are gradually moving from a phone to a larger screen because of the ease of use it offers.
Super interesting. I think we are getting a bunch of questions around, especially since you mentioned that we'll get like 20 bundle subscription in just 800 bucks, because everyone's paying that much anyway for the subscription. So essentially, you're giving us internet plus like TV cable for free. So like I'm just taking one question because it's right in the chat section here, and it's very in the topic that we are discussing today. So how does Jio break even with this pricing? Is it introductory pricing that we have right now, or is this something that really works for you at volume?
It will work on volume. In fact, so if we say our bronze plan, our silver plan, which is right
Yep.
now at 800, it is there
Yep.
to be there. So I don't think so. So this is not something like, so see, understand this
Yep.
this offering when we launched, a lot of people said, oh, it's high. But we need to understand that right now our target market is a middle Indian class affluent household.
Right.
So we are trying to cater to them. Again, our pricing is not cutthroat. It's a very decent pricing. Uh, and 800 rupees. So we have a lot of players who offer a lot less also. The kind of the at the price point. But I guess 800 is a pretty good price point. It's not a cutthroat at all, and it is here to stay. And in fact, let me tell you, in this 800, you would be seeing a lot of services getting added in coming months. We would have more OTT players coming in for this cost. We would have a lot of regional OTT content players adding into our content offering. So this is one part to it where I say the bundled in. We also have a complete breakthrough where we have something called as a Jio Store. So Jio Store is an application marketplace. So this is similar to what Google offers, which is a Play Store. Apple offers an App Store. Likewise, we have our own application marketplace by the name Jio Store. Jio Store at this point in time itself has 100 plus applications completely free to access. This includes the Eros Now, this includes an Alt Balaji, this includes even there are paid subscriptions out there which costs you around in a tech space, which are anywhere between 15 to 55,000, which are completely being offered for free right now. So those are also a lot of value add which are being added, and we see a lot of, so again we hear a lot of 4 5 players, we keep on hearing them time and again. But also what we see is the next big wave of content creation of lot of value add would be coming from small OTT regional players. So for example, there is a Hoichoi out there. For example, there is a Adda Times, which is again a very good content player. There is a Matru Bharti Vishesh, which creates a lot of good regional content. There is a Manorama. There are so many good, interesting channels out there, which also would break out in the scene very soon. And we can see that quality would be the king here. Anyone who offers quality, people will move towards it. So I guess here even the international players would have to come and even out on a lot of local content which they are offering. because, as I said, 1800 houses and towns and cities which we are reaching out to. So we see that when we reach out to this now huge number of amount, vernacular bit will kick in. We will see a lot of people not comfortable with English as a language or Hindi as a language for that matter, would go and opt in for the regional content which they would like to. So as we speak, we would be launching a lot of regional news channels also catering to 20 to 30 different geographies. So far everyone speaks about regional vernacular, but this is where it will kick in because we are right reaching out to a bedroom of a house, where the average time spent in front of a TV in an Indian household is anywhere between 3 to 4 hours. So that's where I guess this throws up big opportunity for a lot of internet players. And again, as I said, we are building a horizontal. A lot of internet companies are here to benefit because those would be verticals aiding our consumption. So it makes complete business sense for us. It creates so much value for users. So when we broke out in the scene in 2016, Jio started. I was at Facebook at that point in time. Everyone around the world was gung ho about what Jio is trying to do. At Facebook, we said that what Jio is doing right now is presenting a tunnel in 10 years from now what the world would be like. And then we saw an amazing way of how TVFs at that point in time of a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of content players benefiting. The same second wave of again, it's been 3 years now, and you see a sort of saturation coming in. But again, we see that the next set of wave for a lot of app developers, for a lot of content creators would be for TV as an audience. And again, I'm not saying Jio set-top box. I'm very sure anyone who innovates can basically capture this market. So TV as a market is here to stay because of low broadband connectivity. The price is coming down with the advent of smart TVs, which today we can actually stream. So one very unique feature of our set-top box is also, and a lot of other set-top boxes also coming out, is it can turn any TV into a smart TV. So far, no one had the behavior of accessing an app over a TV. That was completely unheard of for a lot of people in the 40 to 50 age segment. But currently, we are seeing that change. A lot of people who watch linear TV these days happen to be in the age category of 40 plus. So now, when they see that apart from a phone, they can consume content over a TV also in form of apps, that's where we will see huge usage. And then because we will have more devices being added on, we will see more content creators and app developers coming in and benefiting from this second wave of revolution.
Got it. That's interesting. Um, you mentioned a lot around innovation, smaller apps coming in. I think you mentioned two names also. What are some current challenges you as an ecosystem is facing? Because with innovation, it is definitely, you guys are moving super fast. You guys are trying to innovate at the same time. So what are some challenges that you see that you're facing currently, and you hope in the next 2 3 years you're able to overcome that? What is something that you feel is a hurdle today?
Like I don't see it on the technology side of it not being a hurdle. So the way we quickly expanded on our the geophone, as in the 4G services, the way we quickly expanded because it was all a airwave thing. Geo fiber would take 2 years to reach 20 billion because again I'll give you a simple example. A single pothole in Mumbai to be filled requires 36 different permissions from the local municipality. So that's how bureaucratic our systems are in India. So considering how much hard work it is to lay fibers across the country, so I guess that penetration is on, and the reach and the connectivity would be there very quick, and as we speak it's happening. But as far as the platform is concerned, I guess we have very robust platforms, very easy to scale. I guess one challenge which I think is there, people where developers would take a time to realize. So it's a first mover advantage right now. So right now, a lot of people slowly, steadily are getting aware of the opportunity. Oh, there is a changing landscape which happens in any industry. So yes. So I guess this is an additional medium which I see a lot of players will have to adopt, which is building for a TV audience. So that's where the realization that this has a big market is there. I guess will take few months to kick in. But anyone who jumps on it immediately will reap in the first mover advantage.
That's interesting. And Geo fiber, you mentioned the penetration right now. What are some numbers that you can share? What is the penetration today? Where do
So we
you
are in a million households right now in 1800 towns and cities.
Interesting. And what do you see by say 2022 or 2025? Where do you see that number?
So I guess in 2 years from now, we should definitely be 20 million households.
Okay, that's interesting. 20 million. So that's still 10% of 20 million households, right? That's still
Yeah.
a very small penetration, if you'd say, or that is
Yeah.
still urban population that
So the
you.
100 million projected should be in, you say, by 2025. So yeah,
Okay,
but yeah, so for us for now we are saying that 20 million households is our target for
got it, got it,
sales.
got it. And we've been discussing a lot around, say, telecom, OTT. What are some other big bets that are in public that you can share that Jio is going after? What are some markets, especially? We'll come to the Facebook deal. I think a couple of questions around there. But just before, easing out that, what are some other big public bets that Jio is looking at?
No, I guess whatever Jio is doing is out there. So we have a bunch of OTT apps, which is Jio Cinema, which is a Jio TV Plus, which is Jio Savan is an interesting service which is out there. Um, I guess, yeah, we are equally betting big on all of it. And again, with the increased number of users via broadband, via Jio phones, via our SIM service, we have 400 million Jio subscribers, Jio SIM subscribers as we speak. So that's a very big number.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that our set of services enabling them. We do offer a suite of services, but again we've thrown it open to everyone. We see a lot of players also benefiting from it. Jio Store basically is the next big bet, which I would say, which is our own application marketplace powering our Jio phones, powering our set-top box. So yeah, so our application marketplace would be a big bet. So just to give you guys few insights into how big the application marketplace system is. So if you see, Google made around $38 billion in revenue from their Google Play Store.
Yep.
$38 billion in pure revenues. That is a revenue of big companies, put together. Apple made around 45 to $48 billion via their application app store in revenues. So when I say revenues, revenues come from ads. So it's S word, which is subscription, and then come ads, and then comes T words, which is transaction. For say I give a ₹5, I view a content that way.
Yep.
And again, their revenue. Again, when I say revenues, you can say how big that market is, because on a subscription, and Google or Apple for a first year offers 70-30. 70 goes to the developer.
30. Yeah.
Still,
30.
with that
Yeah.
30% on an ad, it's again 70-30. 30% goes to a Google or a Facebook. With 30% also, they've been able to have a revenue, collection of a per year revenue collection of around $40 to $50 billion. That's
Yeah.
insane money. So we see that application. So we are a platform. We are a digital application marketplace, and then we see that we are an Indian store. So far we haven't have had an Indian store. We have Samsung. We have a lot of other players coming and making their own application marketplaces. Again, these marketplaces are same as any other. It just there is an application out there on any other. It comes sits on the phone again. But here, what we are trying to ensure is we are trying to enable a lot of local players, a lot of interesting players. Our strategy is a curated app marketplace which offers a lot of value, less clutter, more value. So that's where I guess personally speaking, that's what I'm looking at, and that's where I see to be the next big bet in terms of enabling a lot of players out there to build for Indian audiences and enable them, make them grow and coexist. Coexistence is the key here. So we all need to coexist. So if we coexist, everyone makes money and everyone grows.
Nice. 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 Um, like I think we've gone pretty deep into this space. Just shifting the topic a little bit, especially now that we are in the current lockdown, in the COVID situation. Any interesting insights or patterns from the consumer section, around consumptions, around transactions? You have a large user base, a diverse user base. Anything interesting that you've come across that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so when I say of connectivity, we have our wireless connectivity, and then we have broadband. On broadband, as I said, we were even surprised when we saw these initial trends. So what we really saw is a lot of users out there were actually migrating. So they had a OTT subscription migration from a small screen to a large screen. Then we also had very interesting insights where religion does really well on for our Indian audiences, especially when we reach to an Indian middle class home out there in the directly in their living room. So I'll give you an insight where we launched this app, which is a simple one pager Hanuman Chalisa.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, on our platforms we have Scoop, we have we have TED, We have all fancy applications, 100 plus fancy applications out there. But our Hanuman Chalisa, a single one pager app, was a top 5 app, and it's been a top 5 app for past 5 weeks. We launched it five weeks back. So that makes us really, gives us more insights that religion is something which people want. It gives them a sense of belief, a sense of holding back on. So we see that to be a very interesting insight which we have had, and then that's the reason we are working as we speak on doing something there. And as far as our wireless connectivity is concerned, we see a lot of people consuming plethora of entertainment options out there, say YouTube, say Jio TV Plus, say Jio TV. So a lot of these applications get consumed, and every one user out of two today has a Jio phone, a smart feature phone out there, opening a Jio TV out there. So I guess we have democratized access to content. We see today, yesterday when you had to go and watch a news channel, again 270 rupees or GB, and again it was not at all an optimized content data coming in, and the data used to just evaporate. But here, even after they getting a GB, a point 1.5 GB content a day, still you can stream a Geo TV the entire day, a YouTube an entire day. That's how optimized we have made it. And then we see that people are entertained more, and when people are entertained more, they do a lot of non bad activities out there. They are there at peace with themselves. They are more creative out there. So as a society, it adds value out of the commerce side of it. It definitely adds a lot of value to our nation in a lot of other ways.
Interesting. I think we have a lot of questions coming on the chat section. So maybe one question from our side before we jump into that. And there's something that and there are multiple who have asked us in the chat also. So especially since you worked with both FB and Jio and the deal that's happening here, what are your thoughts on this? How do you think this will pan out in the next 5 years? What are anything that you can start to kick off the conversation?
It's an amazing deal. It's a pure commercial deal where they take 10%, 9.99% at a cost. So I see two very big players coming together. It holds them really good, and they are a strategic investor into our line of business.
Hmm.
And I see a lot of interesting things coming in coming days, in coming weeks, and in coming months. Both the companies have their own strengths, I guess, which would be played upon. There would be a lot of pilots which would go on, and whatever clicks would be rolled out to a larger audience. And as you see the WhatsApp thing which has started, where a Jiomart is being offered right now on our WhatsApp. So I guess if you folks haven't tried, you should try it. I guess I happen to stay in Navi Mumbai, so I guess in our geography as a pilot, it has been launched, and it's a very seamless service where I just go. There is a URL. I just say a hi to a Jiomart WhatsApp bot which we have. I say a hi. I get a URL. I select what I want. Based, it automatically geo targets me. It tells me which are the groceries which I can buy nearby. I just select, and it just tells me that okay, at so and so time it would be delivered to your house. It would be, you can make a payment in cash or whatever it is directly to that end last mile user, last mile, who would deliver it to my house, the shopkeeper. So I guess this is great. This is again and taking everyone together and growing. I guess one thing what is really important in the internet business is you need to take everyone to. This is my personal insight, is that you need to take everyone together and grow, and add value to people around, because if you do that, it's an inclusive growth, and then again less hurdles, and then you can really expand and skyrocket your growth. So it's an amazing deal. Considering that sort of money coming into the Indian internet ecosystem is really great, especially at this point in time.
Yeah.
And we really see some really interesting things coming. WhatsApp has 400 million users in the country.
Yep.
Jio has 400 million subscribers, phones, SIM subscribers in the country. We are expanding aggressively in broadband. So I see both companies adding a lot of value together.
So is that also a part of the, for example, like apart from the monetary bit, 9.99% for 5.7 billion. Apart from that, what is something strategically that Jio is looking from the Facebook group, and what is it something that the Facebook group is looking from Jio, especially with the numbers that you mentioned in the end? Does that also, is that
I
part
guess
of the deal?
right. Yeah, right now a lot of discussions are underway, and again, the senior leadership is looking into it. But so far, what we have in public domain, is basically again, both are very innovative organizations, and again, a lot of innovation, a lot of brainstorming would happen in coming months, and a lot of interesting things would come out. But yeah, immediately what we immediately see is the Geomart thing coming out, and a lot of interesting things would be coming out even on a set-top box also. Uh,
Got it.
and yeah, Facebook has an interesting application, a suite of applications for TV market also. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff can happen in coming.
Got it. Got it. Got it. That's interesting. I'll just start picking a couple of questions because we have a bunch on the chat section. And then maybe if we have some more time, then dig back into the questions that we have. So one question that Path asked us is, with the infrastructure set by Jio, is it also looking at markets like EdTech, for example, in the coming years, or is that something not on the roadmap so far?
Yeah, exactly. EdTech is a very core offering.
Okay.
So Mbibe is a company which we acquired recently.
Exactly.
We got majority stake. Yeah, Mbibe is a fantastic platform being led by some really cool people out there.
Hmm.
And EdTech is a very critical key component of our set of offerings,
Hmm.
and more would be built on top of it. Right now, if you see on set-top box as an application marketplace, we're already powering 5 to 6 major education partners,
Hmm.
offering their set of content. We recently launched Top Tutor. So Top Tutor basically is a network. So again, we have our investment in Network 18 as a company. So Greycells Media, which happens to be a subsidiary of Network 18, we launched a Top Tutor app after working for so many months. So Top Tutor again has been around. So if you see Top Tutor in the linear space has been around for, you say, for a while right now, for say more than 10 years. It was the first linear channel, which was out there, catering to the topper TV is what it was, uh, out there. And again, it has made its maneuvering into the TV space now, into a non-linear medium. The Top Tutor out there immediately is out there for people to access for free. But as we speak, Mbibe and a host of other services where it's driven by AI, all your new set of technologies would completely revolutionize the K-12 segment.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. Another question that we have from Arushi: with the telecom sector that is reeling under debt, what is your comparison of how in India that we can provide, internet for 0.26 USD in India versus in the US or in Canada, it's, almost USD 8 or 9 per GB. So why is it so expensive? Why is it that this innovation could not be, afforded there or could not be built? So, they are way more developed nations. Why can't they provide it at a lesser price than, say, in India? And is this related to the telecom debt? What are your thoughts on this?
No, no. So see, so when you start a business, there's a lot of money which you have to put in, right?
Yep.
So that is one part to it. The second part to it is also, this is the, again, when you say that, so your question is, tomorrow will the tariffs increase? So I guess I don't think so. There will be any massive change in tariffs out there. And again, this is pure play innovation. Again, this is something, which geographies out there should learn from the Indian ecosystem of how we've been able to, offer such cutthroat prices. And again, internet is an SDG. It's a UN sustainable development goal, where it's a necessity now for citizens of Earth out here. So this is something which we have done and which we all should be proud of, and it is out there for outside countries to basically take inspiration from and replicate. If we could do it, definitely they also can, considering the advanced set of technology, the advanced institutions, the advanced research which all of them have. But yeah, this is something which we've been able to do, which we should really be proud of. And again, these tariffs are here to stay, and
Hmm.
it's not that overnight it would become double, triple. Again, we have 400 million users. If something had to happen, it would have happened so far, right? But it's
Fair
not.
point.
So again, this is pure innovation. There are
Hmm.
profits with this price point also, and as I said, it's a economies of scale. So if you're able to offer a scale, costs can be brought down. And again, and such innovative price points are to be seen in a lot of other industries also. So if you see a OnePlus, if you see a lot of other such high feature handsets which really come at a very innovative cost, cutthroat market. It's not that they're burning money. They definitely are making unit economics are there, and economies of scale tends to kick in after a while. And again, if you do innovation, such costs are very much possible. And again, we will see such very interesting things happening in broadband also. Once we have a huge user base, once we have more innovation coming in, we will see some interesting price points being offered even in broadband.
Nice, nice, nice. I think a follow-up or a complementary question Akash asked that what is it that Jio did so different in 2016? Because, was it that the other internet providers were giving something that was overpriced, or is Jio taking in some losses, is absorbing something to give things at a lower price, in effect, capturing more market share today. So
No. So you see,
what is it that they did? Yeah.
vision is really important. Some very smart people run the company here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the vision was very simple. You need to have clarity. So a lot of time, what happens, and a lot of noise around, people lose out on clarity. So if I see pre 2016, post 2016, here it was, let's empower. And it's also vision. Okay, everything is not business. It's also about empowering people. So as I said, coexist. If you offer value, money comes in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what is the value do you offer? So it was internet. 270 GB, 1 GB of internet costed 270 rupees. What would an end user do? So that's where we say, so that's where the big bet was made. Let's democratize access to content. Again, 90% of India makes, so you need to understand how Indian as a geography also works, which people sitting in offices out there forget.
Mm-hmm.
90 to 95% of India makes less than 10,000 rupees per month.
Right.
This household cannot afford a 270 GB internet. Okay, and again, if you need to make money, how do you do it? So we say, so this is where a player comes in, and says what 10 rupees per GB of internet, massive. That's where everyone started coming in. It's an SDG goal. We overnight, after a few months, we were top content consumptors in the country.
Right.
We had 10 GB
Good.
of
Yeah.
internet we consumed on a monthly basis. People were happy, everyone doing great. And again, it enabled so many industries out there. And again, economies of scale is what I want to again and again point on. It's the
Yep.
economies of scale which kicked in. Again, so people say a lot of money. Again, any business which comes in, these were setup costs which went in, and pure layman terms, if I say. But again, there is unit of economics in it as we speak, and these unit economics will continue to improve as and when we have more users coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not a subsidization, what few users are trying to say, but
Mm-hmm.
I see purely this to be an innovation, this to be an economies of scale, and then these price points continue to exist, and maybe it may even come down more once we have more users coming in. And what different did we do? We said that once we offer internet, so the one thing was offer internet. Okay, everyone gets internet. What do people do with internet if there is no content to consume? That's where there was a layer which was made in, which was content. Again, no other player, I don't think so, thought of to create something like a Jio TV, or to create something like a Jio Music which was out there, or to create something like a Jio Cinema. You can give people all the content they want, in all the data they want in the world, but if you don't tell them the means via which they can consume data, it's of no use. That's where the content play comes in. So the revolution happened on the content, the kind of
Interesting.
content which we offered, the kind of, I guess, the Facebook came in, the WhatsApp came in, the YouTube came in. Again, we had our own set of suite of services. So when we rolled out, you see, when this data bit rolled out, we offered suite of content even on smartphones, even on, again, I see massive adoption of these players out there, again at no cost. You have a Jio subscription, you can use this content free of cost. That's where
Mm-hmm.
the innovation was on the content bit, where we layered it with our set of services, where people used it. So that's my observation of the industry. That's where the innovation came in, and then it was for the entire world to see, and the entire world was appreciating out there.
Nice, nice. Okay, that's super interesting. Another point you mentioned, I think this is another question from the chat, is people moving away from small screen to larger screens, right, to consume this content, maybe OTT or linear, as you mentioned. So I think this is kind of counterintuitive, right? A lot of people are building mobile first, content players. I think one of the most famous example is Quibi in the West. They are trying to build a mobile first. So What are some insights that you can give? Is this only like one of the question is this specific to only the middle class affluent households, or what is it? Anything that you like to add there?
So see, so if you see again, we are in the midst of a transition in the industry. So the kind of insight which I gave
Mm-hmm.
was very surprising for someone like me. Also, have been dealing a year, right? But these are the insights, which are coming out there directly from these
Interesting.
areas, and this gives us insights. Again, first more advantage is what everyone benefits when there is a wave of change in the industry, right? So these are the few data points which we are observing. Again, why this change would happen, I personally feel, is your broadband internet connectivity costs are going down. So if we speak at this point in time, only say around 66% of households in the country are connected via broadband connectivity. Again, it's a normal broadband connection. But if you offer them a high-speed fiber broadband connectivity, which comes as less than 800 rupees for 100 GB internet at 100 Mbps, again, if we do it, a lot of other competitors will also. So I'm speaking of industry as a whole, even though Jio would have a market share, the highest share in it. But even speaking from a general an observer point of view, your TV costs are going down, your broadband costs are going down, your TVs are becoming smart. So when you kick in such an innovation out there, that's where people see, oh, I can. So I'll just tell you my example. My mom yesterday was watching a Sai Baba on a smart TV. She was streaming it from a Sony Live app, I guess. So she was able to see it and she was enjoying it and she could view all the episodes back to back. And she was surprised. She's like, wow, this is amazing. So that's where, so that's where the realization would come in into people that, oh, I need to catch a phone like this. How much will I look at it? That's where you have a TV, just stream it out there. And that's where magic happens. So slowly, steadily. So if you say the linear TV, the pay TVs are here to stay. I'm not saying these are going anywhere. Again, the non-linear mediums which would make a dent on it. But considering how traditional Indian markets are, pay TVs are here to stay. But then pay TVs have their own limitations, and phones have their own limitations. So as and when we see these, the next 2 years would be really critical, where the price points would go down, more homes will have smart TVs, and people could really stream a lot of such content directly TV, and it is so comfortable of watching anything over a large screen than on a phone. And again, a middle class Indian affluent household, which is around out of 200 million homes, I guess 120 million definitely reach out to this category. Massive waves of change waiting to happen, and that's where I guess the app developers, the content creators, need to take a clue and start creating applications which cater to the larger screen. Most of them have started doing it. Most of them should start doing it, and a lot of gaming would happen. You see, in 2 years from now, with the high broadband connectivity coming in, so much multiplayer games would be enabled on the fly over a cloud, over a TV. Again, that would be massive. So your laptops would go out of the scheme, according to me. The large screen would kick in, and there is so much which can happen. So yeah, the industry is in midst of a revolution, and slowly, steadily, you would actually. So what happens in the industry is when things actually happen, people tend to know about it. But then the people who benefit from it are the early movers. So anyone moving early would be benefiting, I see.
Interesting. Interesting.
Then I have a question there. So, like you mentioned, large screens will bring the next wave of internet users via the broadband connection. So, do you think that can somehow cannibalize into Jio's telecom sector or something like that? Or do you think both will continue to coexist, or how do you think that will play out?
No, both have their own markets. Both will continue to exist, and at the end of the day, it would be a geo offering. So money coming via any of this definitely comes to the kitty.
Yeah,
But if you see, both have their own use cases. Especially in the COVID lockdown situation, we are seeing massive content consumption. At homes, the content consumption has increased more than 10 times on a TV. So I see that. More and more people would be broadband is here to stay. My personal insight say, after say when everything saturates 20% from the wireless, and the other 80% would come from broadband because of the kind of speeds it offer, the kind of 4K content. So let me tell you what we have also revolutionized. Jio set-top box can convert any TV into a smart TV. We are the first players in the country to offer 4K content. Now 4K content also comes with a lot of high content, high data usage, which it would enable. So more 4K content being used, more data being consumed, would entail more users consuming. All of it would be there, and more content providers would be creating 4K content. So we have a OTT app right now which is there, sits on a set-top box with the name Toon Goggles. It has amazing amount of 4K content, and we see massive usage of this 4K content out there. So there is a hunger, there is a need of people out there, so I just read a tweet of Aditya later in the day. How do you know what people don't know what they want, sort of thing. So that's where it comes in, when people are given something and they realize, oh wow, this is something which.
Right.
So that's where the realization would kick in, and then yeah, both markets will continue to coexist. But yeah, you never know what this COVID things fans out like. But then if COVID is to stay here, so how I see this industry evolving. So I also see a lot of industries saying that for next 1 year, even as a cost cutting measure, they're wanting people to work remotely, especially in IT sector. So if that, suppose, even if 10% of the industry takes a call of remote working, so I see a lot of people would go out tomorrow and start using a larger screen. They would start consuming a broadband because it's more convenient, and they're using a broadband would enable a lot of video conferencing solutions coming on a TV. And again, it can be any on a smart TV. It can be any video conferencing service for that matter, or any collaborative software being worked upon together. So definitely SaaS as an industry with booming, keeping TV at the core of it. I personally believe.
Got
Fair
it.
point.
Also, just a follow up there, like you mentioned, broadband connections once they start coming in. So, for every Wi Fi router or for every broadband connection, there will be one or at max two large screen TVs in every household. But in India, the average household size is like five people, and so five different mobile phones will be connected to that broadband. So, do you still think that the 80-20 ratio will play out? Or is this only specific to content consumption and not internet consumption as a whole?
No, so when I say if 100 GB is a silver plan, where it is 100 GB at 100 Mbps comes to streams to your house, you can connect up to 50 devices. So yeah, up to 50 devices could be connected. There's a lot of media sharing options. So you have a content on your laptop which you would want to show on your screen. We have a suite of services there enabled on the set-top box where you could share content across 50 plus devices into a single screen. There is a gaming option. There is so much which can be done. So again, pure play innovation coming into a small set-top box out there. And yeah, you folks should definitely experience it. It adds a lot of economic value. And again, I'm saying this is innovation. Again, anyone who innovates can do this. So say tomorrow, anyone who want to come out, and again, competition is really good, innovation is really good, because out of this competition, the end user really benefits. So I see that anyone who would want to innovate, you need one player who sets the bar high, and that's where anyone comes around. So I really would want to see Indian ecosystem as a whole definitely innovating, cutthroat innovation. I'm very surprised. Why did not any? Why Zoom is overall overnight become a star? We should have had an Indian player. Why do we have a Google Duo? Again, it's high time importance. 1/7 of the country, 1/7 of the world resides in India. We have the smartest people on earth. Again, it's high time that we create in-house solutions out there, especially in the wake of data protection, in the wake of a lot of data sensitivity around. And again, pure play, why should not 1.3 billion people have very innovative solutions being built in-house? So I really would want to see more innovations coming in, and then we showing the path to the world that it can be done in a cost effective way. It can definitely enable and empower so many people out there. Now just imagine, so the one very good thing also which turns out from the Facebook Jio deal also is SMBs. I really like what they said. They said we need to empower an SMB, a small and medium business. We need to really go out and think what can we do. That's where the larger pie of the SaaS market also would be. Can we create solutions for them? B2C is a big space, but yeah, can we do something for SMBs? Again, broadband would enable SMBs out there to do business in a much more ease way. Again, 400 million users, GeoSIM users, definitely is enabling SMBs in so many innovative ways. So many people out there are finding so much innovative ways to go out and sell content. E-commerce is enabled in such a big way. There are so many rural users. Say a TikTok, for example. Again, if it was not for Jio, I don't think so. 270 GBO of internet would be consumed by a segment of crowd staying in Dharavi or in a remote village. Again, there is so much coming in. So yes, so I see. This is how the industry seems to be evolving.
No, definitely, for sure. And like you mentioned, I think a lot of apps are just sitting on top of the 2016 revolution. So definitely an enabler for the entire ecosystem. Um, Another question on the Facebook Geo deal. So do you see something, do you see this also evolving into something like a WeChat-ish app, a super app for India? Or do you see that to still be a challenge for India? Because a
So,
lot of
so
them have tried and failed in the past, right?
Yeah, so see, this is something which all tech companies which are high on innovation and internet companies which move fast tend to experiment a lot. Yeah, something of that sort. If it comes, can add a lot of value. But I would really want to throw some light, which you guys should go and check. Is you should check MyJio. So MyJio app. So currently we had a suite of 6 to 7 different apps which were standalone apps, right? Which you had to go and download. But if you check MyJio really has put tabs. They have put progressive web apps on top of a simple MyJio app. So there is a Jio Music, there is a Jio Cinema, there is a Jio Savan, everything sitting in. So you could really access all that content without downloading an app over a PWA. So I see that that to be progressing and I find it to be so useful that I can just access everything on a one master app, which happens to be MyJio. So definitely, I am sure that in coming days and coming months, a lot of innovation and people would be experimenting a lot. And whenever anything achieves a product market fit, it would be rolled out. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of interesting things would pan out.
Got it, got it, got it.
But yeah,
Uh,
answering your master app thing, you should
yeah.
definitely check a MyGeo. It's really an amazing app. Right.
Yeah, for sure. I'll check that out. Um, a couple of questions around the OTT point that you mentioned. So, you were getting a bunch of OTT players giving the entire suite or the bundle together at, say, 800 per user. So how does this become a win-win for both sides? Yes, for y'all at 800, you guys are getting a lot of content around this. But for an OTT player, do they get the entire? Because I think the average revenue for them, is it just to the reach that they're doing it, or how does a win-win look like at 800? Because for them, I think at an individual price, if I just take 5 OTT players, separate ones, I think it adds up to more than 800. So how does that look like as a win-win for both?
No, it's a pure economies of scale. This is a pure
Okay.
business deal. And again, a lot of players coming in. We offer them as a bundle in service. There is an understanding between players. Definitely, there is a revenue share. There is a monetization aspect, and because it made sense, that is what makes these players come and work with us. So again, a lot of innovation around business also happening. Disruption of business models out there being done. But as I said, we also have JioStore. Apart from the bundled in thing, we have an application marketplace which again offers you 100 plus. So again, we only hear of Z5, Sony Live, Hotstar, a Sun Next. Again, all these services right now are bundled in. But again, there are players. So again, we would want to definitely go out and enable the Indian SMBs. We would want to really say Adda Times. We would really want a player like Adda Times on a Manorama out there in Kerala sitting, enable them, or a Kashmir Play, which is a radio channel out there, which don't have deep pockets. I don't think so. They can really do the kind of monetization, the kind of money which these big players can throw. So, for example, I heard Netflix to be putting in $1 billion on content, creation. Again, these small players would get lost somewhere. So that's where our bit is also to create a level playing field where definitely these players should benefit, considering the kind of amazing quality which they have. But how do we also ensure and enable a lot of our third party players, a lot of Indian players who are out here who tend to do a lot of good content creation, tend to create a lot of good apps? How can we create unicorns out of them? So we definitely would want to help these small time players doing some great work. That's where that application marketplace comes in. And we're seeing some, again, as I said, a single Hanuman app is outdoing a TED app and a Scoop Up app or a Eros Now or a Alt Balaji, or for that matter, in terms of the content viewing. So that's where we would want to continue and enable these developers, enable these sort of content. And again, we don't know what people want, and these insights give us a complete tunnel into what do people really want, and then we would go back, sit down across the drawing board, and ensure that we offer them services out there which they want. and why not? We should have more people from nowhere coming and making it big. That's where the big win for us as a horizontal would be, is to making unicorns from nowhere.
Fair point, fair point, fair point. I think we're just running a little over time. So, one or two interesting questions that I found right now. One is around Jio Marketplace. So, Joel asked that there was a lot of buzz when Fire TV came out, Chromecast came out, saying that, a bunch of apps which will come on top of this, and this would cater to the TV viewing audience. But there hasn't been so much of a boom there as much as we expected. So, what are your thoughts around this for Jio TV? And on a follow up to that is, what are some other apps other than OTT that you expect to do well on this Jio marketplace? Maybe already or in the coming days.
Yeah, so I think if you see right now, so Jio TV does really well. So Jio TV right now is accessible on a small smart feature phone. It's right now
Mm-hmm.
accessible. So also, before I forget this, one interesting stat for you all, which you should know. So if you so the biggest the most used mobile operating system in the country happens to be Android. Now, if I ask the second most used of mobile operating system in the country, people would say iOS. It's not iOS, it's iOS. So iOS is the operating system which powers our smart feature phone. That at this point in time is the second most used mobile operating system.
Interesting.
We have 150 million Jio phones. So that's again innovation coming. That is one. Second, I guess as far as your question is concerned on the suite of OTT apps, they're doing really well. I guess Jio TV is a killer. You know, again, it can be accessed by it can be accessed by a smart feature phone user. It can be accessed by a smartphone user. It can be accessed in our TV. On a TV, Jio TV Plus is our offering right now on a big screen on a Jio set-top box. It's an aggregation. It's an aggregate of major OTT players out there. And that
Okay.
right now is world class, I would say. I would request you all to go and experience it. It's world class.
Got it.
Good. It offers a lot of content again at zero cost to it. Has very good recommendation features. And again, we have more services which would be rolled out in coming months, where again pure play innovation and it would really present you what you would want to watch.
Got it.
So I guess Jio TV has been a killer product. It will continue to improve with more content coming in with more partners. As far as Jio Marketplace is concerned, Jio Marketplace will enable a lot of third-party application providers out here. We would definitely want to go and promote a lot of indie developers, go and promote a lot of small-time players who have a lot of good regional cinema. We would want to encourage them to launch their own apps out there, give them more visibility, work with them to ensure that they make it big, they gain more value. And as I said, $38 billion was the revenue on a on a Google Play Store marketplace. On an Apple application marketplace, it was $50 billion. Again, there is huge money. And again, I believe that as a horizontal big win for a horizontal player like us would be ensuring that players from our network gain a lot of value. Already people on Jio games, so if you see a lot of Jio games as an application is there on our smart feature phones, a lot of people are gaining a lot of value out of it. And I see that this to be only growing.
Got it. And you're seeing, are these by third party developers? Are they making money already off
Yeah,
these apps?
yeah. On,
Okay.
on a Jio phone, so many people out there making good amount of money. And
Hmm.
again, as a horizontal big win would be creating big unicorns out here.
Got
So
it.
so yeah, hopefully that would happen as our penetration increases out there in the market.
Got it. Uh, Yep, just running out of time. So last question on the My Store, the Kirana offering that has come out recently. I think you mentioned about it also I think over WhatsApp. I think that is the deal. So how has that adoption been so far, and what are some other things that we can accept? Is it something like, tomorrow maybe an Uber Ola competitor also coming here, or like, that might enable a super app, but what are something that you guys are trying to innovate in the offline to online space, in the O2O space? A lot
No,
of
I
content, a lot of edtech, a lot of super gaming apps, those are there right now, but what are some O2O innovations that are in the pipeline?
Yeah, nothing in the public domain right now. I guess
Okay.
how do we enable the SMB? How do we enable the local Kiranawala? I guess it's exactly where the online to offline market is, and there are
Got
very
it.
smart people who are running this business. And the idea is to empower the last mile user. So you say I guess 70 to 80% of such transactions again happen via Kirana Wala. And again, if as a country you need to exist, you need to ensure the economy grows and you also grow together. We cannot live such a huge chunk of population out there and create something of your own. So I guess we need to coexist. We need to involve that there is an inclusive growth, create value for everyone out there in the ecosystem, be it digital, be it online, be it offline. So I guess that's where I guess as a vision, which is a very altruistic vision, where we as a nation should grow at the end of the day. And I guess as I said, some smart people running the business out here, and the kind of vision which they have, we are lucky that we have such people running the show here. Because if it were not for these folks running this show, I don't know what would have happened. There has always been anyways has been an invasion of a lot of Chinese money into the markets, where a lot of our unicorn apps out there have majority funding by them. So I guess we required someone to hold the fort here, and then we have done so well. So I guess as someone who in terms of data autonomy, someone a homegrown player is really important in this. It's definitely a globalized world, but you definitely need a local player holding the fort. Otherwise, hell can break loose. You never know. So I guess geopolitically also, if you think, it makes a lot of value to have someone holding the fort out there in the country. And I've seen that going out really well. And with the kind of vision which we have, I see more and more players would be empowered, and it would be an inclusive growth with everyone growing together.
Got it, got it, got it. I think the questions are still pouring in, but I think we'll have to put a hard stop here. Uh, what is the best way for folks to probably, because I think there are a lot of interesting questions here as well, some that I'd want to, take up. Maybe is it okay if we share these with you after this call, and maybe if you have
Yeah, why
some time?
not? So,
Yeah,
so, so yeah, folks can reach out to me on my email ID, jatin.malhotra@ril.com. But I guess
awesome.
product folks are doing really great work. They curate everything. They also ensure they take the pains to do market research and reach out to you folks. So I guess on Twitter or maybe one-on-one, however, I'm there on LinkedIn, I'm there on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere for that matter. So yeah, you folks can reach out, or you folks can redirect it via product folks, or put a hashtag out there. Happy to answer those queries. And also I would request each one of you also to think of building something and be a part of this digital revolution as we are working. Again, these are very early days, and you folks should definitely build something which definitely can cater out to the masses.
Awesome, awesome.
And also as a tech stack, if you see, Jio caters to everyone, right from a lower middle class to a middle class to a higher middle class. So we have our own set of digital offerings for everyone. So yeah, you all should definitely explore at least. And yeah, happy to help you all.
Awesome. I was just going to ask you for some closing remarks, but I think you covered it
Okay.
super well. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for the shout out. We'll definitely try organizing like an AMA over Twitter. So I'm sorry, guys, if we couldn't cover. I think there were a lot of interesting questions towards the end as well, but we'll definitely do another round of this. So any follow ups that you have, we'll definitely
Yeah, and
cover.
I'm so thankful. I guess product folks have been doing some really great work. I guess the kind of topic which they choose, so when I graduated around in 2012, we saw everywhere software engineers to be for that matter. But then the product manager, something I personally saw around 2017, 2018 kicking in, and there was a huge void of a community around it. And I guess and product management tends to be very close to my heart. So I really appreciate the kind of community which product folks have been creating. They've been able to get some very good people around in their community, and the kind of things which they're doing is really super helpful. And I see a lot of fourth year students or third year students at IIT Bombay and a lot of fancy institutes these days tend to have a inkling towards being a product manager, which is a very impactful position in any company or a startup, because that's where you define how the product works. Especially in today in the SaaS-based market, in a B2C market or a B2B market for that matter, product management is at the very core of it. And I still see it as a skill to be evolving out there. No one knows what a perfect product manager is like. So I am personally a big time of product folks, and I'm looking forward to be associated with the community. You all should also, and I'm happy to be associated with you all and contributing in all these possible.
Thank you so much, Jatin. That means a lot to us as well. And with that, thank you so much, guys, for joining us as well. And definitely give out a shout out to Jatin if you enjoy the session. I personally, I mean, like, I didn't know too much about this sector before this call. Did a lot of research with Adi, but got a lot more insights from this call. So thank you so much, Jatin. And another round for the fundraiser because you guys contributed. Thank you so much. And we will definitely be putting out the screenshots and over email as well as trying to give out a public shout out. So once again, this is a thank you from all of us in the community to all of y'all for taking part in this. Thank you.